side of the cloth, and he came up through the roof, underneath the roof of the mouth, up through the sun. I didn't take that. And it was kind of gory, but you're in a bad situation. The only thing I don't like was you get into some of these techniques like that, and you can actually do it, but your weapon's tied up. Ed Parker talked to me about making a foot weapon for him. He always wanted shoes, and he could get them half the time. But he wanted to have a shoe where you had half a blade going out on the side of the heel. Because if you have a blade in the front, you'd have to bring it back out if you're going to try to use, say, a dagger on your toe. But with a circle, it doesn't interrupt the flow. And what he wanted to do with this was to be able to cut the ligament of the tendon right across the front of the knee of the guy who's leg. Just with a little move to the side. And of course, you incorporate that while you're doing something else up here. And I don't want to go wrong. Now, I had an industrial accident where I dropped one of my little belt buckle knives that takes a little blade hidden inside the belt. I dropped it on the moving belt, and I heard this bang explosion. I looked down, and that knife was coming through my thigh. And I can tell you, when you get stabbed, you don't feel it. So what happens if you round the knife and you feel this? You can cut it. It will not hurt any more than that. It may be that way. The only way you're going to have any pain associated with the stab wound is to go straight into the bone. And then it really hurts. You get nauseous. The point went into it, straight into the solid bone. So you need to be aware of this in case you're hurt or if you have to use this. Okay? The guy will still come after you with this move here because he doesn't know it's happening. Now the psychological problem is when he looks down and sees he's coming. You know, we can all look and help somebody else when it's their blood, but when it's ours, it's a whole different problem. The body starts shutting down. That's what happened when I had my accident. I looked at it, I looked away, and I said, I don't believe this. I mean, listen to what I was thinking. I don't believe this. I looked away like maybe it'd go away. Look back, it's still there. And well, I got to deal with this. This could get me. This wound could have been horrible if I hadn't had it. It didn't get the artery, it touched it, but it got the femoral nerve and the vein. So now I got a nice, interesting scar where they had to find the nerves which are elastic, reattach the nerve, and hook up the femoral vein. It was a pretty extensive operation. They got me to the hospital fairly quick. I was in the industrial park. But I then had to wait 2 hours for the first to go on. Of course, they don't give you. No, you can't give you this in 97, so you lay there. And this is where you reach down inside yourself, and this is where all your training, your discipline is really going to fail. I can really tell you the disciplines that I received are help you later for 2 hours and deal with it. I wasn't really hurt. You have to understand. I really wasn't in a lot of pain. My body was shut down. I mean, by the time they got me in the ambulance, my blood pressure was way down. What happens when you go through a serious wound like that? Your blood pressure drops way, way down because your body closes down to protect itself. And if you have high blood pressure, it's just going to help the bleeding. So what happens when you get hurt like that? Everything calms down. We have doctors, a paramedic, or somebody who knows more than I do. I can just relate to it from personal experience. Paramedic, all right. When you get hurt bad like that, your body shuts down, doesn't it?
It's called constriction.
Talk about it.
It's called shunning. It shuts everything away from your extremities, trying to maintain your vital loads, but lowers your blood pressure.
So the time they got me in the ambulance, they stabilized me. We already had the IVs going time I got to the hospital. The paramedics like this fellow here, so that would really saved my life. Plus, I had a neighbor come over and take his belt off and made me turn keep me from bleeding. But the only reason I bring this up is because we do need to talk about blood. Okay, so if I have a target and I come through here, I don't want to stay here. I want to be over here, right? It's going to be a little sickening. But if we're talking about a battle, war situation, we're talking about somebody trying to kill you, somebody who's mortally either attacking your family, you got some wild person, totally out of it, and he's going through and kill you. So, the only reason we would ever use this kind of force is against the equal attack. So what we have to do then to think about it at that time is when something like this happens, we might discuss some place to go and deal with it. It's not in the front. We can take all our movements and start incorporating how we can protect ourselves from a deadly attack. But when it comes down to the serious fighting like this, there's no rules. Survival. Survival. And as we were talking the other day, the first cut, usually it's over. You don't have to kill someone. And again, I always maintain mercy. This wild man would be having a bad day. But what we need to do, though, is defuse the situation. You don't have to rip you to shreds just like you did. What I'm doing is showing you the full range of motion that you already know every time you're adding a weapon. So now mentally and psychologically, especially, then you need to determine what you're going to do. Now, if that first cut came in, and I made this cut, and knocked his knife out of his hand, it should be over, right? Because I hurt him. He's bleeding, and he's going to need a doctor. He's going to need some time. And unless you're the paramedic doing this, he's got to find him, right? So you don't have to go through. But what I'm showing you is a war situation, you can go through these violence. So what we have down the arm then, we have tendons, we have arteries. Under the armpit, there's a whole mass of them. The first throat area, the groin area. These areas in here, arteries flow. We've got nerves. So we've got tendons, nerves, and arteries. And when I did my thesis set back in '68, I could only work on it for a while. It was just too boring. I couldn't think about it. I couldn't think about on the inside move, slicing through here and dragging in and lifting up. If you really get thinking about it, and working with a wooden knife makes it more of a game. When you get a live blade out, and you do I made a form on my thesis set. So I'm working with a live blade, and it's a little more realistic when you're working with a real knife than if it was a little wood foot. It's like doing gun techniques in the rubber one, then get out a real gun. Now another thing that's real true, and I heard this from Ron Chappelle yesterday, he works with police people all the time. He said, street people knows that policemen won't shoot. What are you going to do, shoot me? Come on, take out his knife. They won't believe the police are going to catch you. Hey, I'm cool. So people do not want to be attacked. And people, especially, I say street people, I'm saying people who are allowed to attack the murder or try to take money or whatever. So, a knife then, and some of the states, and the different laws in these states depending on what knives are legal. And I need to make it clarify that. If you carry a weapon, then you have to be responsible for it. If you carry a weapon in California that I can carry legally in Kentucky, I have no problem. If I take that knife I carry it in Kentucky to California, I might as well have a loaded gun. This is a problem. So understand your knife laws. came up behind him. He had a buck knife. I mean, he had a knife too. But it was so dull, it wouldn't cut. And that was, let's say, fine. Well, he was just getting in his car. All these guys came out. He got the sword came out. And the guy had the knife behind him, you know, like this. So he's gripping like this, and he grabs the sword in one hand, and he just like that. And the guy didn't even feel it. I mean, and he was still holding it, but finally he looked down. And the other guys came, and he took that and just kind of put his hands up like this, and he just took that thing and just shredded his fingers. Couldn't even remember it. Well, this is back east in Connecticut. He never got his sword cane back. And he had a lot of court expense, but he was alive. This guy was an ex-Marine, and only martial arts he had before he got in the Marine, which probably even went out to do some conference. All right, the targets area then, but when you make a cut then, is understand we have some weight going on. Now, we had time to put your rubber gloves on. Not getting young, you like to tend to survive. And with the AIDS and everything else going on, you can actually now. Another thing to consider is, can you be affected by the cutting this guy? There's a whole new realm that was never thought of before. I mean, the paramedics, they got to deal with it. You have to be concerned about then you could go through and save yourself and end up with HIV. All right, well, this is enough philosophy and talk. What I want to do is just open your mind a little bit, and I will close the dory part. Now, we don't have to think about it, but what I want you to do now, I want you to do a couple of attacks this time. Instead of going to the inside, or did we do the inside? We did this, right? All right, let's go to the outside then, where I want to be on the outside of the arm. We can do, I want to see a couple of different techniques. We can crane. The main thing I want to see on the outside is control. We go right into this elbow right here with this point. And then I can then pull the cut if I want to control. Okay? The main thing you have to be concerned when you've been taught it and you teach your students is maintain control of your opponent's weapon. Okay? Let's get up slow. Now my little block can be used in the back position as well as forward position. So you can actually hold this so the blade is coming out of the back of your board. So you guys have bought one of my claws. You can use the thumb on the finger on top, like a crane. I can use the thumb on top. I like to hold it with the thumb on top where you can't see my weapon. Now in the back position, then I'm holding it with the Chinese fist right on top, just the part of the top. Now I have blades, I can cut both directions. So as you go to the outside, if you want to incorporate this move, it'll help train you to use it. Fraction mode slow. I don't want to see anybody stopping. I want to see fluid motion. Don't go halfway or a quarter of the way and stop and think about it. I want you to continue to move once you start to move. Do not stop moving. I don't think there's anything wrong. Do not stop your motion. Don't stop motion. You have to keep moving. I see so many black belts in the middle of techniques change up and stop. Doesn't get it. Once you start to move, keep moving. You're in a nice quiet place, and all of a sudden somebody breaks their lock. Now I've seen this happen only one time. I was in Ensenada with my pretty wife, and also with a friend of mine's very pretty wife. So I had these two pretty girls with me, and I'm in their parents. And the famous margaritas and so forth, and their songs continue. And I never knew you could break a beer bottle with somebody think at. This happened said it because he wrote this bottle over this guy's name. Well, to make a long story short, there was a guy shining my wife's shoes. He had a shoestring on, and he was fussing. And he knew trouble was coming. It turned out to be an undercover cop. In perfect English, this Mexican little shoe shine guy said, "Get next door to the T-shirt now." So without hesitating, I grabbed what I could, left my sunglasses, left them, he came running out the door. "Hey, Junior, you forgot your shoestring!" And again with an accent, but he had perfect English when he said it. He came over and he says, "The federales have these guys." So, you never know. But what happened, what I want you to consider now is something can happen so fast that you know what's happened. Your brain is trying to catch up to this scene that shocked you. And that's why we have a tiger on our patch. And sometimes we have to switch into the El Tigre instantly. And only way that happens is through training. So now what I want you to do is take on a straight beer bottle attack. Somebody's coming straight at you. All right, let's think about this. Yesterday we had Mr. Steele personally witnessed a fight. These guys are lifelong friends. The thief, the guy breaks the bottle, comes at them. Okay, face up to that. Nobody hit him. What about chairs? Should you face this beer bottle already like others? What about grabbing a chair? Then face it. Now, you're black on. Wouldn't that kind of help you? So here you are. So what I want you to do then is you think about it, come into a situation. You're in an alley, garbage can lid is a great shield. There might be something in there you can use too. You don't have to fight living worse without any kind of weapon at all or protection. There's no need to be a hero. It's again, we're back to survival. All right, let's get up and let's try a straight attack with the beer bottle. And I want you to be aware now, it's sharp on the end, but not the sides. Now the knife, the guy comes in, and he's got this knife. You have to be worried that he could rotate the blade and cut you in any direction. So now our attack then is though he can only cut you at the end of it. Now you have to be aware then that what will happen if you come into the side of the bottle, it may be cracked and it may shatter. Okay? So now we've got this, you're more apt to fight this than you are a knife. But what you have to be aware then, it can't touch you from the side unless it, depending how it's broken. So it's just a little bit different. But I want you to then, again, maintain control of this weapon that's coming at you. Let's try it. Let's think about bad situations we go better.
Yes, I know what I mean.
It's still always different. They got the good guy and the bad guy. They have a certain set of rules to make the bad guy look bad, the good guy look better. Because the only way you can judge anything in life is by its opposite. Now, there's something for you to meditate on. The only way you can judge anything, is by its opposite. Okay. What happens if this guy got this bottle? He gets 5 feet on him. Rolls it. And behind your toes. They don't do that in the movies because they want more action because they're kind of entertaining. Now, 4 or 5 feet, I guarantee you, you still got a bottle. Need something. So, your mind has really got to go into a very defensive mode because this is not like the movies. This is survival. Okay? What happens if he has a bottle, he picks up the chair? I don't know, how many of you guys know some of the belt techniques? What I want to do next is we're going to take this bottle and we're going to use our belt. Everybody take the belt out. Hopefully a physical ball. Most of us wear a belt. We usually do in such a time. She's all right. I'm going to do this real slow. Now, depending on the length of his weapon, what I want to do is I have to make a little larger loop to keep myself from getting cut. Depending, we're going to use an ideal situation where it's a straightforward thrust. So I'm going to move to the side, and what I want to do is block to the side this way. Now I have a couple options. If he's real high, at this point here, I can bring it in here. What I want to do, let's take a lower tack right now. Bring it to the side, everybody see? What I'm going to do is make a circle track. So I'm taking the right hand on top. Okay. Now, he's got a real long bottle, so I can take a cut on it. So you want to avoid it. So what I can do then is pull the loop out. A little bit bigger loop, you see. What I want to do is move myself out of the range of the weapon, lock it up. From this point here, take that. Bring both up around each other. Here I'm going to pull real hard. I don't know where he's nice at, but I'm going to make sure he's going to use it on me. Take it out of his hand and I'm going to stick it in with the back. Okay? So let's take it, let's walk through this. Now you also have usually a guy will have a nice cowboy belt buckle, right, or something real heavy on the end. You can use that then as a rib action to convert and also get some leading some time. Try to go to the face, try to wear glasses, you convert it when you can't see so well. We're going to step forward, right hand on top, make the loop. We're going to step, and we're going to take down, stand like the train around the back. From our class, I say, don't trust an old man with a cane. There's a proper way to use a cane, and that is if you have a bad leg, like when I got tore up on a dirt bike, had my right knee completely rotated, lost all the ligaments on it, perineal nerve, which I still only have about 10% back. I had to use a cane for a couple of years. In fact, the picture that I have with Elvis Presley and Ed Parker in 1974, I was standing with a full steel brace on my leg. I had to wear it for years. So my life has made a real drastic change. And the good thing about our Kenpo art is that I can still practice it, still easy. I have an injured leg and a dropped foot on this side. You notice that I walk on funny. It's because I can't raise this foot. A lot of people don't know that. It doesn't matter that I'm 62 years old. I don't have to. When the person uses a cane, to reinforce that leg on the opposite side like this. So, if you see somebody kind of walking like this, is what they used to call in the old days a gandy dancer. You know, he's out there just having a stick. I remember when I first came to Las Vegas, a long time ago, I won $585 on the draft day. I've never done it since. But I had all this money in my pocket. I wasn't going to gamble anymore. So I was a little bit nervous. And two, because of my injury, was still, I just went about a cane. If you're in a bad situation, you're in a strange town. $8, $9 in the corner drugstore, you pick up a cane. Now, I brought this all the way from Kentucky, so when I got on the plane, I had to play the act and use the cane properly, but I wanted to use it with carry. Now, I didn't have a dagger in this one. No one did that. We had fun with all kinds of crazy stuff. So, you know, if you see somebody using it on the opposite side, you know they're using it. Now, the person also be like me, and I'm going to be doing a lot of walking. I might decide to take the game. And I may use it. And I might just walk along like I don't know what to do. So generally, airport security, you'd be watching for somebody who's not using the cane properly. And believe it or not, in some states, unless you have a card in your wallet saying that you need a cane, it's then I have to roll up my pant legs and show them my scars. But some states are really getting paranoid of the weapons. And this can, a quick story, when I was in Alaska, I had school up there, and I came down and I got hurt on the bike. And I went back with a cast, full leg cast, pretty weak. And we had a scheduled tournament up there, and there's only 5 black belts in the whole state. So we all agreed, well, we don't need to fight each other because there's nobody to referee us. So we didn't have to get on to who's the best. We didn't have to ego thing. So we tried to plan this tournament, and I got so damn mad to play the Japanese national anthem. I got so mad with that because this guy who was a fifth degree came from Japan outranked the rest of us. We'll do the Japanese national anthem. And the rest of us didn't know what to say, so we danced into it. I got so mad over that. Still am, I guess that's why I'm bringing it up. I got, like Lee Wedlick's t-shirt I got from him, it says, "Gold Battle with Foreign Flag." Anyway, we had this tournament. I was supposed to break. You know, they're going to do contests and stuff, so I'll break. So I did some breaks on boards, or some are, you know, master tax, or do some breaks like that. Well, I got up there with this cast cane. The only way I had broken it was falling on my head. So I got one of my brown belts to the side. I said, "Look, we're going to change this up. Let's do a demonstration." And I had not thought about it. So we took some of the standard techniques, got out, people who didn't know the Kenpo, crowd. And they liked that better than how we got them out of trouble. And they're real simple. Maybe you don't have this guy. Well, you can do a simple thing. We used to call 5 count or 5 swords. If the guy takes a strike at you, I can block with it, I can hook with it, I can use the other side. Okay? I can do the same thing. I can block with it, continue to circle down, hook the leg. See? And also, even if I got a cast on. So there I was. I think probably the audience might have felt sorry for me. I had a cast on. I'm not walking around. I'm just killing my brown belt. And I had him get me in a headlock. You know, I guess it was in a side headlock. He just did, you know, instead of doing a grip of death, I come straight up. And do a twist up, you know. And they just love it. They go crazy. So some of the stuff you already know. The stick is really important. Now, the most intense pain area of the body is the lower legs. Remember that, girls. You get into a bad situation, it'll hurt more than the groin. Remember that you get kicked like and if you go down like that, where's his face coming? Right up into your cane. Right. Oh, I see. So you can use this hook. I just wanted to demonstrate this to you. I want you to think about it. You may never think about this again until about 30 years from now. Hey, I never did this. I go crazy. I somebody about cane. I think it was a little bit. Now you got to use it. Now I don't have any techniques for walkers, so I'll let you try it. All right, that's not what we can. Now my thesis with Mr. Park in '68, I incorporated a few things what I did incorporating the angle, it allowed me to put my thumb straight on top, which gives me more extension on the arm, rather than just straight up and down and crouch my thumb. This way I can go straight up, and I can also maneuver the knife. Much easier with the thumb. I can use it to cut both ways. These factory knives are slightly dull on the top because in some states it's illegal to have a double-edged knife. So to get into our marketing worldwide, which we sell these really all over the world. And I like to think that I'm a little bit of an ambassador to Kenpo, and that you can go to any country and it's not for sale or illegal. And I always hope too that somebody who hasn't studied martial arts, you might want to sign up for kids, might see advertising, behold this thing up in. They'll take the kids to the closest temple school and sign them up. So I'm hoping that'll happen. Years ago, I told a passion called it Mark Real Men. I said, I'd like to go to school. He said, no. I said, Evan, you stay with your mom. So I have had a couple of schools, but I always took that advice, and I thought, you know, he's right. So I stayed with my art, and so I still hope today that what I do still helps benefits the whole system and least for you guys. Now on the angle of the guard, it also, when you use it in the back position, notice the angle of the guard is really isolated with the bottom of my hand. Which also allows me to strike with the end of it. I can make a cut and do a lot. So the technique we'd like to do, we're going to take advantage of this particular model. And if you don't have a wooden one, I'm not going to want anybody to ruin it. But it does make the technique a lot good. I know some guys will tape up the edge and actually use drills, but it's really a gamble. When I did my thesis set, I did a leap of crane, and I came out like this. And the knife wasn't finished. I hadn't put the final edge on it, but I happened to kiss this finger. And I went right through it. I didn't get the tendon. I still have a little scar back in 1968 when I did my thesis set. From catching that point, just by getting my check hand a little bit close into this circle. So what we want to do then is imagine we've got a blade about this size. I did make a couple of lines on it. So, you got yours? We're going to take the first attack where it comes high. It's coming straight up high like this. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go out to the side. And I'm going to cut from here through underneath the shoulder blade. Okay? So as you come to the side, I'm going to cut through here so they come past. I'm going to check the arm away, and I'm going to drive the heel of the palm down on the back of the head. Okay? And then so doing, I'm getting away from the mesh. Okay? Let's try it. Let's walk through it. This is moving straight. Forward lunge is coming, the same lunge is coming to you. I'm coming off to the side with the parry. The blade is down, and I'm dragging it up. I'm going to drop the heel of the knife down and continue to push. Okay? When I clear the knife, I'm going to come back and strike with the heel on the back of the head, taking it away. From there, I may shift up and do a side kick, putting away over. You change up, kicking that. All right, let's try it. Motion is not stab hands and pull out. That Parker always taught. Make the cut come through. Now, if this guy's got a heavy coat on or clothes that won't allow this kind of cut, then you make the cut and ride the blade rather than, we don't want to get the blade locked into the guy. Okay? We don't want to have to make a motion backwards. We want to make a motion through. And what you do, if you get it in there, is you twist it, keep circle going. Okay, let the knife do the work. Again, this is used against the mortal attacks, right? It's going to try to kill you. You can still kill you, you can kill your family. This track goes straight through unless it gets hung up. Then you rotate the knife so you don't stop on those tracks. Ed Parker is going to write a book called Speak with the Knife. And I got a wonderful gift from Jeff Speakman when I got here to the camp. He gave me Ed Parker's actual notes for each video. And I looked at it like, I don't believe this. We were in 1969. We were at internationals, and he wrote a little thing on a piece of paper and handed it to me. He said, "Don't let anybody see this." I opened it up and it said, "Speak with a Knife." He looked at me in the full crowded room and says, "That's the name of my book." And here we are, almost 20 years. 30 years. But he never read the book because he didn't want it to get in the wrong hands. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I think it's a wonderful gesture because I've been with Parker and Speakman. You trained to me the seed that I planted whether or not I would finish writing the book. When I read all of the notes, it was everything that Ed Parker and I discussed. And he has all the detail, and I put it in order here. So whether or not if I ever finish the book, I'd almost put Ed Parker's name along the line. You know, these things all evolved from, you know, a young brown belt trying to get a black belt, trying to figure out what can I make a contribution to the system. Well, and I think, well, nobody had ever done any knives. When I did my thesis set at internationals, the last technique I did, I went to leave Ukraine where I was taking the knife out of a sheath on my cap, right? Like a combat knife, like a soldier would pilot would have a sheath on my cap. So I came up and took it out. I'll tell you a little secret that I did too. Before I got there, I had a target when my brown belts stood up at the last second. And I was told the knife at the end. That's all I said. This Japanese judge didn't hear that. What I did, I carefully measured the distance of my throw. I practiced. And so I had a position so that when I came off the leap and crane technique, I could step on this little piece of tape on the floor that I put there previous. I stepped on that. I knew my distance was perfect. So there was this insurance, so I didn't want to be embarrassed out there. So I drove the knife just like that, like the original target. 2 inches and there. I always reinforced so that the guy holding it, he's like this. And it happened so fast, the Japanese judge fell over on his back, his feet straight in the air. When he got up, what's the knife got to do with karate? It's not wrong. You would have been great. Embarrassed. And probably hasn't never did for that. The old man. Obviously, I didn't win the competition. Well, but Mr. Parker was happy then, I was happy. But the nice thing, it really hasn't been done so much. And there's been a lot of guys in our system who have actually gone into weapons competition with 2 knives, coming up with a lot of things. If you want to teach your students a weapons set, give them long form 2, short form 3. The long particularly, instead of where you start doing some wraps, just make your strikes go straight out. But there's a nice little weapon set. If they don't know any weapons forms, and they would like to compete in the tournament, have them practice a little bit on long form 2 with 2 blades, and they can go out and actually do a pretty good job with the weapon set. They already know it. You can do the same thing with sticks. They don't want to use blades. You can take the same form and use 2 sticks. They already know the form. Hey, you want to do in forms? Then in weapons. You start out. And what you got to do is you're not going to touch yourself in emotions. Just think about it, and you've already got it set. Okay. I just kind of had to. I just wanted to give credit to Mrs. Peter for giving it to me. I just was sorry that it kind of marks a circle for me through all these years. Here I am, actually explaining some of these things that we did years and years ago. I started off with the crazy brown belt. You guys were so crazy when you were brown belt school. I hope you were. All right, I want to do a couple more techniques when we got time. I want to do there's a lot of traps, a lot of ways to disarm. Our client is brilliant on this because he's also proud of his heritage and he studies the swim. And if you get into a screamador who is really, you have a friend, the best disarms and a lot of the evasive attacks, then you really want to study scream. What I'm trying to show you today is some of the movements you already know, and how you can utilize what you already know. Okay, let's do one more. We can stay there just for a second. I need a knife. You got that one? I will run with these. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to have the knife in the back positions. And I'm going to use this blade to protect my forearm. So by laying it flat, I can take an attack on this. Okay. Now I have poked with my forearm a little bit, because I'm a little bit beefy here anyway. So what you have to do then is not quite lay it on the flesh, lay it just past the flesh. So if you're going to use it actually to take the blow. What we're going to do is we're going to go to the outside, and I'm going to I can either do this flat, but if I want to injure the guy, I take the knife, I'll rope, and then I'll use the edge. So here I have an opportunity not to cut it or to cut it. I'm going to come up, and I'm going to come back down and lock his arm. Okay, from this position, it's just a real quick up, down. I'm going to trap, and I'm going to catch him with my middle finger on the elbow, taking both knives to his throat. Cutting past the throat, locking the head. Okay? From here, now with a couple little moves I want to show you inside of it. As you come to the outside, I always like the Aikido move, where you pull the guy forward. So he tries to pull back. Then both blades come forward. The Aikido theory then is to take advantage of him wanting to go in a certain direction. Then you reinforce him. That's Aikido. Take him through here. Once I have him here, I'm going to lock him down. I'm going to come back with it, like a thundering hammer. I'm going to come down and cut. Now, the main thing that's wrong with this is if I don't take this knife out of the hand, and I'm over in this position here, banzai, keep that knee, see? So we have to make sure we control the opponent's knife at all times. So if this motion here, if I cut and lock, he still got it. Instead of me coming this back motion here, take him on down and finish it on the ground. So we have a takedown, or we can do the big head. I did that in my thesis. The heading move was kind of slow. That's not as bad as number. Let's try it. Let's walk through it. What we're going to do is knife in the back position, cutting edge away from me. And I'm holding it like so. I'm going off, side, parry, up, come back down and lock. Pull him forward, kiss him inside his elbow, both legs past his knee. Lock behind the neck. Hammer strike down, wide kneel and swing down, wide knee off. I don't know if you guys teach this to your students enough. Like last time I hit you with baseball bat, same thing. I move in here rather than stand out here and take these views. So what I want is come inside and take it. This is one you guys would have fun with. Great demonstration when you fall on your knife. As you come in, you want to come across the top of the bat, here. I'm going to keep the turn going. Now all I'm going to do is put my hand on the back of his neck. So if he comes, you end up with the bat in your arm. You want to learn this one? This one, we don't have that many baseball bats here. All it is, as the attack comes, walk through it. We're going to step forward, to the right, put the hand on top of the bat, and assist this serve. And you see I can go because I stand there and do this. Ouch. This is going to be what you do. Get it slow. Just get this slow. Try it. Put that at the center of your key and flow and move everything with the right hand on his head and the guy's on his feet. So he's on his side here. Alright? That's what you know how to handle a little man. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, yeah. Fun sharing some more stuff. Anybody like saying anything?
What do you think about the reverse grip fighting? I see some of those knives have a sub-hilt, you know, that other hilt. I don't think you can't reverse grip on that thing, can you?
Here's the thing with about any particular knife that has something a little bit different about it. A lot of times, a knife is designed that you can only use it in a certain way. It locks you into a certain position. Like my original Parker knife had finger grooves all the way down. How could you like that? Because it locked them into it. So you'd like to have, like we have the modern knife here, the vacuum knife, we only have one finger groove, so you can use both hand and back and forward. The finger grooves then kind of start eliminating which way you can use it. It still works both ways. But as you get into some of these sophisticated knives, you have to look at them. Can I use this in every direction? Like my claw, there's a lot of these little claws out there. Some of them have rings on them. They're pretty slick. You put your little pinky into one ring and you got the blade coming out the other way. But the only bad thing about it is you have to hold it. You see? Or you put it around your thumb and it's big enough to bring it out the other side. Some of these little weapons are pretty neat. But then you're required to use them in a certain way. There's nothing wrong with that as long as you're willing to do that. What I try to do in my little design is be able to use it without any restrictions. But that's something you definitely need to consider. And if you like it, fine. Knives, I think, are a passion. They are for me to make. It's been a lifelong thing. I'm now 41 years since I started after I had a meeting. People collect them because it's love. I think a lot of us are reincarnated old warriors anyhow. And it's just do it. Any other questions, comments? Been a pleasure.